Welcome to today's news charter. So, as you all know, the goal of the news charter series is to help you understand how to approach current affairs and how to read newspapers for the purpose of UPSC Civil Services Examination. So, we will start with the topics for today. These are the topics which are in focus for today. First of all, like every day, we'll see the prelims practice question for the day. The prelims practice question is on the topic of genocide. So, which of the following statements can be considered as causing genocide? First is causing serious bodily or mental harm to the members of the group, inflicting conditions of life that may be physical destruction of the group, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, and transferring children of one group to another. Now, why we have asked this question, first of all, let's see, is because recently South Africa went to the UN court as an International Court of Justice, and accuses Israel of genocide in Palestine. So, this is why we can expect questions on Genocide Convention and genocide in general as well. So, this is how you have to find out your syllabus topics from the topics which are going on in news. So, this is the question, and the answer is all four are considered to be the criteria for genocide to have been conducted. Take a note of it. It's a very probable question. One more homework for you is to study about the International Court of Justice. When was it established? Where is its headquarters? How many members are there? What are the criteria for membership? Can they be reappointed or not? These all things can be asked with respect to International Court of Justice. So that is your homework. We'll move on to our first news of the day, which is science communication in India. There was an article in the Hindu yesterday, which talked about how science communication in India is lacking. Now, what is science communication? It involves, in general, knowledge dissemination about the recent scientific works, impacts, where you can directly contact with this people who are in this field. And, in general, spreading of knowledge about science. We had seen during COVID pandemic how much misinformation was being spread due to the lack of credible scientific data, and it was very harmful. It is very harmful that misinformation should be stopped, and there should be correct scientific information available for the students, the laymen, everyone in general, so that people are informed. When people are informed, it impacts all of the spheres of their life. So there was also a separate, program running on by the name of Vigyan Prasar under the Department of Science and Technology for scientific dissemination at appropriate levels of education. But recently it was stopped in 2023. We can also see that, the amount of percentage of money out of GDP that goes to the science is also very less. So these are all the points which are important for from the mains perspective for you. And whenever there's a question on the problems in science in India, you can always mention, even if they don't ask separately about science communication, you can always mention that science communication is something which is a problem and which should be promoted in order for the scientific temper to develop. So, appropriately at the school level, at the college level, there should be interaction between the people who are already in the scientific field and the students, so that they more and more people get encouraged to take up careers in science. Now, from the prelims perspective, you should know that there is a DPSP, Article 51AH, that says that it should be the duty of every citizen of India to develop scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. In 1951, government established Publications and Information Directorate under the CSIR, which used to publish science magazines and everything. Then, sixth five-year plan established National Council for Science, Technology, Communication, and Vigyan Prasar, as we were talking about, it was an autonomous organization to promote the science in general. But recently, it has been stopped in 2023. So, this was about science communication. Let's move on to our next topic. Genocide Convention. As we were talking about the genocide related news, South Africa is sort of seeking binding preliminary orders to compel Israel to stop its military campaign in Gaza, as it believes that Israel is conducting genocide in the Gaza region through its military operations. So, what is Genocide Convention? The Convention on Prevention and Punishment of Crime of Genocide codified for the first time the crime of genocide. Genocide is a crime that can take place both in times of war as well as in times of peace. And these are the following obligations for the parties who are parties to the Genocide Convention. Obligation not to commit genocide, prevent genocide, punish genocide, enact the necessary legislation, ensure effective penalties, and obligation to grant extradition. So these are the things which you should know. There can be a question on Genocide Convention for sure because it is too much in news. Also, one of your homeworks is to find out whether India is a signatory to the Genocide Convention or not. So find it out and put it in the comment section. We'll move on to our next news. Wings India 2024. Wings India 2024 is the biggest civil aviation event in Asia. It is going to be conducted in Begumport Airport in Hyderabad, where Airports Authority of India, in collaboration with the Ministry of Civil Aviation and FICCI, is going to organize the event. And the theme will be Connecting India with the World in Amrit Kal. Now, what is the goal of this event? It is to promote collaboration, showcase innovations, and explore business opportunities. As you all know, the civil aviation industry in India is not very developed. It is not very strong, and it suffers a lot of viability problems, and a lot of issues are there. For some reasons, the civil aviation industry is just not able to take off. So this kind of events help in the promotion of industries by connecting different people from different industries so that they can collaborate into the development of the industry. UDAN is a government scheme which you should know about when it comes to the civil aviation industry. UDAN is a regional connectivity scheme which is Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, and it is a government-backed initiative to improve infrastructure and connectivity in India, especially in remote and underserved regions. So it has completed 6 years recently. So again, it becomes important. There have been previously four, levels of Udan, and in the fifth level of Udan, the government has said that the airlines have to cap the fares for 50% of the total number of seats which they are offering at rupees 2,500 per hour of the flight. It will be achieved through viability gap funding, which means the government will be funding whatever gap is there in the profit of the airlines, and concessions from the state government, central government, and airport operators. So this is about the civil aviation industry. Read about the Udan scheme a little bit more. It can be asked in the prelims examination and the mains examination as well. And we will move on to our next news, AER report. So the annual status of education report titled Beyond Basics by the Civil Society Organization Pratham. So who is conducting this ASER surveys? Civil Society NGO by the name of Pratham. This year's title was Beyond Basics. This report can be asked in both prelims and mains. In prelims, they can ask about the data. They have asked, such reports previously. Also, they have asked about the NSSO survey and all. So they can ask this. And nevertheless, in mains, you can always use this data. It will really help you whenever there's a question on, education, especially primary, secondary education. So let's look at some of the data. Overall, according to the report, 86% of the 14 to 18-year-olds are enrolled in education institutions. 25% of the student cannot read a class 2 level text fluently in their regional language. This is the problem with the regional language, And this also makes a case for promotion of regional language, which our Prime Minister has also been promoting in the recent times. A little over half can read sentences in English. The percentage of youth not enrolled is 3.9% for 14-year-old youth and 32% for 16-year-olds, which shows the dropout rate is very high in the secondary education level. And it paints a very grim picture of the education system, that it is like, tenfold increase is there in the secondary education from 14 to 18 years dropout rate. In class 11th or higher, more than half are enrolled in the arts, humanities streams, and girls are less likely to be enrolled in the STEM stream than boys. Close to 90% of all the youth have a smartphone in their household. So, just note down some of the basic things. Most of the questions in education system issues, you can use this data, and data is always important for mains, as we all know. So, this was all the important news for the day. Today's mains question is based on the anti-defection law, as there has been too much going on in news regarding the Maharashtra, anti-defection issue and the recognition of parties, and like too many articles have been going on. So make sure you read them carefully and try to answer the question. It's a very simple question which says, what is the 52nd constitutional amendment? And suggest some modifications. So you have to write about the 52nd constitutional amendment act in the anti-defection law in the introduction. Then in the body, first you write what are the problems with the anti-defection law currently, and also write about the current confusion which is there in the legislature party and the original party, which is the point of contention in the recent Maharashtra issue. And then you write out what solutions or suggestions can be there, including, removing the speaker's power to decide on defections and giving it to the president on the governor on the advice of election commission. This is a very famous suggestion. So write about the solutions. And one means pointer which you can note down is on the multidimensional poverty in India, which has dropped to 11.28% from 29%, which is a good indicator. So you can write it in the under the point of poverty in GS3. This is some important points from the prelims point of view about ICMR, which has started revising the National Essential Diagnostic List. What is this list? It lists the essential and most basic tests should be available at various levels of healthcare facilities, including at the village level. So the tests which should be available for everyone, everywhere, these are the essential diagnostics list. So this is an important point as well. And with this, I think today's news charter comes to an end. We'll see you again tomorrow. All right. All the best.